What's good, YouTube? We back, man. It's your boy G-Way with two Ys, man. Y'all see all the links. I mean, all the social medias and shit right there, man. You see, I said that last video, but shit, I gotta keep saying it because, you feel me? I'm patting myself on the back for the shit I'm doing. You feel me? Just what like the hood said. Um, but yeah, man, we got an interesting video today, man. I really wasn't trying to do no basketball related stuff today, but I love basketball, so we're here. But we got Jimmy High Roller, man. Jimmy High Roller be having some very interesting videos. I ain't gonna lie. So he got a video that's called "I used the data to find the closest player to Stephen Curry in the entire NBA." Now, y'all let me know in the comments, man, who y'all think is the closest player to Stephen Curry, bro, or the stats that's kind of the closest to him. Who would I say? I don't know, man. I want to say Clay, of course, but it's like I don't think it's Clay, bro. I think it's like it's gonna be some weird shit. Like it may nah. I mean, it's not weird, but like saying like Damian Lillard or I don't know. Might be fucking CJ McCollum probably fucking up.
Quick, off the top of your head, of all the active players currently in the NBA, who reminds you most of Steph Curry? I'm sure some of the names that come to mind are Trae Young, Tyrese Halliburton, Kyrie Irving.
Tyrese, get the fuck out of here. Tyrese, get the fuck out of here.
Kevin Durant, if he was 9 inches shorter. Try all you want, but the overwhelming and correct answer is no one. Even as the catalyst to one of the biggest evolutions in basketball history, there is still nobody that is quite like Steph in the NBA today, or ever for that matter. The greatest shooter of all time by a country mile, as devastating off the ball as he is with it. The skills to carve up defenses and score from anywhere, despite being a relatively undersized, unathletic guard. By now, nearly a decade after the long ball took over the NBA, it was assumed that Steph's influence would spawn an entire generation of copycats. And although the game has changed, there's still no one that plays it the way he does. While aimlessly browsing through some stats,
do y'all ever think there will ever be another Steph Curry? Well, I mean, of course, it could never be another Steph Curry, but somebody who was like kind of like Steph Curry, like, or even catch up to his record, bro. Me, I'm gonna say no, bro. I feel like he on some like LeBron James shit. Like he got records that's just never gonna be broken, bro. That's just how I feel.
Not too long ago, it came to my attention that a 37-year-old Steph Curry once again led the NBA in three-point shooting last season for the 10th time in his career. The league is still trying to catch up to where Steph has been for the last 10 years. And with each passing season, the reality becoming more painfully obvious that Steph isn't a product of the league's evolution. The league's evolution is a product of him. And as long as Steph can do things that no one else can do, it may be a while before we find a worthy successor. But why is that? In fact, with a game that has become the blueprint for modern-day guards, why has there not been a single player in the NBA?
When Verizon gives you a free phone on any plan, you use AI a lot.
Gemini, show me the concealer.
The long, thin tube.
Who plays like him or can do the things he can do? This series of questions led me down a long and exhausting rabbit hole of what I believe to be the most extensive look into this topic. Who is the most similar player in the NBA today to Steph Curry?
Ray Allen. I don't know, I'm just saying shit. It's finna be some weird shit, I'm telling you.
Today's video is sponsored by DraftKings.
Yeah.
It's that in on instantly Sunday ticket
I'm
for
gonna be like
first
this
shot
one day.
at out. New customer of 200 in YouTube
Guy got me.
and basketball.
Curry puts up a three. Bang! Bang!
When put to the task of finding the most similar player to Steph Curry, the first instinct would be maybe a long-range sharpshooter. But these comps never quite work. The best three-point shooters in recent history are far too one-dimensional on offense to be compared to Steph. Look for perimeter players that can generate offense like Steph, and you'll find a lot of freak athletes, ISO-heavy guards, and players who aren't willing to run to hell and back like he does every other possession to get a bucket.
You know how like, damn, it's a 23-minute long video? Okay, I'm not gonna be yapping this time. But you know how crazy it is? Like, bro, this nigga's stamina is, like, a lot of NBA players in shape, of course, but this nigga shit is different. Like, bro, this nigga will run around the court, hold 24 seconds. Don't mind that, we got puppies and stuff, so they always randomly barking. Run around for 24 seconds, then get back on defense, play defense, Not saying he's just a good defensive player. I'm not saying that, but like making effort on defense. Get back on offense. Do the same shit over and over and over and over again, bro. Them games be long as hell. Bro, that's crazy.
2020 Bleacher Report article cited Mark Price, Pete Maravich, Steve Nash, and Jerry West as the most comparable players to Steph. All of them solid comps if they hadn't retired decades ago. CraftedNBA.com has a great tool called Doppelgangers, which uses an extensive batch of metrics to find similar players throughout the NBA. But this tool specifically looks at the results of a player's game without including the method in which they got those results, which is an important distinction. For example, Steph and LeBron both averaged the same amount of points last season, but the way they scored those points were wildly different. In our experiment, the method is just as important as the results. And so I decided to take matters into my own hands. And after countless hours of research, metric-based analysis, and data crunching in an attempt to answer this question, I think I've got it. An almost definitive conclusion on the most similar player to Steph Curry in the NBA today. And the answer may surprise you. First, I had to reduce the entire league down
Nigga,
to
say it!
had even an ounce of resemblance to Steph and his game. Floor generals, undersized guards, sharpshooters, off-ball merchants, great scorers, crafty perimeter players, players who love the three ball, and because, why not, his own brother. Eventually, I was able to narrow the list of players included in this experiment to about 75. Of those 75 players, here are the ones that eventually scored the highest in similarity to Steph. Now, how exactly did I quantify similarity throughout this process? Well, first I had to determine the metrics in which I wanted to measure. And here are those metrics: gravity, usage and creation, shot selection, portability, passing, defense, athleticism, dominance, shooting ability, and play style. 10 isolated metrics that factor in each and every aspect of Steph's game. Finding the similarities between him and any other player was the easy part. For example, take passing, which can be measured fairly accurately with passer rating, a metric that measures how frequent, effective, and efficient a player passes the ball. Steph's career passer rating is 6.9. That's pretty good. Jalen Brunson has a passer rating of 7.13. That's even better. Klay Thompson has a passer rating of 3.48. And that's not so good. To quantify just how similar these two players are to Steph in terms of passing, we just need to figure out how much their passer rating deviates from Steph's. In this case, Jalen Brunson's passer rating only deviates by 3.2%, while Klay Thompson's passer rating deviates by 49.5%. This would give Brunson a passing similarity score of 96.8% and Klay Thompson a similarity score of 50.5%. By using this method of measurement, I calculated the similarity score of every player in our experiment across all 10 previously mentioned categories, then I tallied up their score to find the most similar player to Steph. The player with the highest score after evaluating all 10 categories is of course the player who shares the most in common with him. So now you know the method, let's see the results. Now the first factor we're going to be taking a look at is Steph's most valuable skill, his shooting ability. In a game where deciding who is the best at anything can be a tall task, Steph has completely removed any room for debate as the greatest shooter of all time. A skill set so valuable that he altered the course of basketball with it, and a skill that we can measure using Crafted NBA's shooting quality metric. It's a stat that combines shooting percentages with spacing and shot value to find what they describe to be the most accurate shooters in the league on a scale from 1 to 100. For some perspective, no player in NBA history has ever scored a perfect 100 out of 100 in shooting quality for an entire season, except for Steph. Who's done it?
I was at a Chase Sapphire Lounge and I saw a burger on the menu. I took a bite and I was like, whoa, this is really special. Was it the bun? Was it the sauce? The blend of meat? Took another bite. I was like, yeah, I think this is one of the best burgers I've ever had. I would do a layover for that burger.
So I can pay for.
I feel I may have entirely misunderstood him.
Life hard.
Is it too much to think that he might
Then they gonna
have
play
done this?
back-to-back 15-second videos that you cannot skip.
4 times. But throughout his career, Steph has maintained an average shooting quality of 94.6. And the most similar player to him in the NBA today in terms of shooting ability is none other than his former Splash Bro, Klay Thompson, who has a career average shooting quality of 85.7 and a similarity score of 90.6%, followed closely by Desmond Bane, Peyton Pritchard, Buddy Hield, and Seth Curry. Keep in mind, although I will only be displaying the results of 20 to 30 players per category, each individual score is being factored in and will be revealed at the end. But just as important as Steph's ability to shoot the ball is where he's shooting the ball. 10 years ago, there were 3 players in the entire league who averaged at least 20 points per game with a 3-point attempt rate of at least 40%. Volume scores off of volume threes, a shot diet that was essentially prohibited unless you were an absolute flamethrower. But thanks to Steph, times have changed. Because last season, there were 24 players around the league who averaged at least 20 a game while attempting at least 40% of all of their shots from beyond the arc. Steph laying out...
The game nowadays has changed, bro. Like when Steph Curry was in the league, when he just got to the league, bro, everybody was not shooting threes like that, bro. They wasn't. I promise you they wasn't. If I had one earring on this whole entire time, bro, I took off the other one, but I didn't take off the... Don't mind that, bro. Dang. Because that's weird having one earring, and I'm wondering why, like, I can feel the back of my earring pressing against my skin. But, yeah, like, bro. But when he was in the league, before he started, you feel me, turning up, bro, the league was... Everybody was not shooting threes like that. But it's like... Bro, when he changed it, like, he literally changed everything, bro. Literally changed not everything, but you know what I'm saying, with shooting, like, he changed it, bro. It's crazy, bro, how big of an impact he, like, put on this game.
The roadmap for modern day shooters, with about 15% of his shots consisting of layups, 21% of his shots in the mid-range, and over half of all of his shots throughout his career being three-pointers. And the most similar player to Steph in the NBA today in terms of shot selection is Tyrese Halliburton, with shooting tendencies that virtually mirror Steph's and a similarity score of 94%, followed by Anthony Simons, Jordan Poole, and Patty Mills. One thing I want to point out here is just how many young players compare well to Steph in this category. Guys who watched Steph at a young age and have skill sets that were more than likely influenced by Steph. Which brings up the next category and one of the most indicative measures of similarity from player to player. And that is play style. What role they play on offense, where they find the most value while they're on the court, and their habits both on and off the ball. Now, quantifying a player's play style is tough to do. What do you measure, and how do you measure it? Well, on craftednba.com, within each player's profile, there is a breakdown of their usage by play type. These plays range from ISO possessions, pick and roll as the ball handler and the roll man, the post, off-ball cuts, handoffs, screens, and spot up. These 8 play types are essentially the 8 major different roles a player can play on any given possession, and we can use them to get some insight into the habits, strengths, and weaknesses of each individual player. In the case of Steph, the 4 most revealing characteristics of his offensive game are ISO possessions, spot-up shooting, possessions coming off of screens, and pick and rolls as the ball handler. Now, if we take these 4 play types and search for the player with the most similar usage across all 4, then the player that has the most similar play style to Steph is Devin Booker, who has eerily similar usage to Steph across these 4 play types and easily the highest similarity score in this category of 84.8%, despite not necessarily being a player you would associate with playing like Steph. The next most similar players are Emmanuel Quickley, CJ McCollum, Jordan Clarkson, and Cam Thomas. For the most part, quick movement shooters who play below the rim and operate best in set actions as opposed to isolation. Play styles that are necessary thanks to our next category, athleticism. Unlike many of the top guards from his era, Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook, John Wall, Steph's lack of world-class explosiveness has kept his game, for the most part, on the ground and away from the basket. According to B-Spark, a metric that uses results from athletic tests such as the ones included in the NBA Combine to determine a player's speed, power, agility, reaction, and quickness, Steph ranks in the 28th percentile in terms of athleticism in the NBA, or at least he was at the time he was drafted. And in terms of athleticism, the most similar players to Steph in the NBA today are D'Angelo Russell and Jordan Poole, with nearly identical B-Spark ratings to Steph's and similarity scores of 99.9%, followed by Peyton Pritchard, Luka Doncic, and Cade Cunningham. Now, our next category has been one of the more underrated aspects of Steph's game throughout his career, and that is his defense. Where his athleticism and size fall short, Steph makes up for it on the defensive end with elite IQ, quick hands, and adding over 20 pounds to his frame throughout his career. In fact, according to Crafted Defensive Plus Minus, an all-in-one advanced metric that measures how valuable a player is on defense, Steph is actually a net positive on the defensive end. Now, where Steph does struggle a bit is his defensive versatility. A target for switches and mismatches against larger guards and combo players, especially as the league continues to get bigger around the perimeter. Take these two metrics, Crafted Defensive Plus Minus and defensive versatility, and we can find out how valuable Steph is on defense and which player is most similar to him in this aspect, which in this case is Donovan Mitchell, with a similarity score of 96% on defense, followed by Kyrie Irving, Austin Reeves, and DeJounte Murray. But whatever Steph doesn't do on the defensive end, he makes up for tenfold as arguably the most valuable offensive player in the history of the league. With his usage and creation, Steph has spent his career as one of the largest offensive generators in the league, both carrying offenses and playing within the offense. And to measure this, we can use three different metrics: box creation estimate, offensive load, and usage percentage, where the player most similar to Steph will undoubtedly have to be an ultra offensive engine who can create opportunities not just for himself, but for his team. So it should be no surprise that when it comes to usage and creation, it is James Harden who is most similar to Steph in the NBA today, with a similarity score of 98.9% and career metrics that are virtually identical to Steph's across the board. The next most similar players are Damian Lillard, LaMelo Ball, Ja Morant, and Cade Cunningham. Pair Steph's ability to create offense with his shooting, and you have a recipe for his game-breaking quality as a player: his gravity. It doesn't matter where he is or what he's doing. When Steph is on the court, he is a threat from anywhere at any time, disrupting defenses with and without the ball and forcing them to get sucked into his every movement. Hence the term gravity, or as B-Ball Index describes it, how much attention and resources a team uses trying to defend a player while on and off the ball. You can see it in action every time you watch him play, as defensive schemes completely fall apart trying to track him around the court, send double teams when he's 30 feet out, and at times completely neglect other players altogether when the Warriors are running options for Steph. It's easy to see, but tough to measure. However, B-Ball Index makes an attempt at quantifying a player's gravity by using a few different metrics like double team rate, shot location, team shot quality, and tracking data with their on-ball and off-ball gravity metrics. Stats that are rated according to percentile relative to the rest of the league, and where Steph has career averages in the 95th percentile in on-ball gravity and nearly the 100th percentile in off-ball gravity, making him not only one of the most lethal on-ball offensive threats in the league, but by far the most valuable off-ball threat in the league throughout his career. And among the players we are evaluating, the one with the most similar gravity to Steph is Damian Lillard, with a similarity score of 95.8%, followed by Kevin Durant, Tyler Hero, Cade Cunningham, and Devin Booker. But gravity holds a lot less weight if you aren't a great passer. As the defense collapses, how well can you find opportunities that open up? And despite not playing the traditional point guard role throughout his career, Steph is an excellent passer, particularly in transition, in the pick and roll, and out of double teams. Of course, a good metric to evaluate passing skill is passer rating. This metric, similar to a few others, is on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best possible rating. Now, throughout his career, Steph has had a passer rating of 6.9, and the player most similar to him in this metric is Dennis Schroeder, who has a career passer rating of 6.93 and a similarity score of 99.5%. The next most similar players are DeJounte Murray, Alex Caruso, Brandon Podziemski, and Damian Lillard. In this category, it's not the floor generals, but rather combo guards who are the most similar to Curry. Add all of these traits up, and you'll find why Steph is not just one of the most lethal offensive weapons of all time, but also one of the most portable. Steph has the skill set to thrive in any system around any players. It's one of the reasons why the Warriors have continued to find success throughout his career despite featuring an array of different players over time. Steph's value is virtually independent of his situation, and there's actually a metric that makes an attempt to measure this adaptability called portability. This metric collects data like passer rating, shooting ability, ball dominance, and usage, as well as defensive versatility, and calculates how portable a player is within any given system. In other words, how well would a player fit if you dropped him into a team with 14 random players? This metric also being on a scale from 1 to 10. Steph has a career portability rating of 9.18, one of the highest in NBA history. And the most similar player to Steph in this regard is Mike Conley, who has the same exact career portability rating as Steph with 9.18, 100% similarity, followed by Desmond Bane, Tyrese Halliburton, and Jalen Williams. Which brings up our last and most polarizing category, dominance. How good at basketball Steph is. A player can shoot like Steph, move the ball like Steph, play the same position as him, but if they aren't dominating games like him, how similar to Steph Curry can they possibly be? And to measure dominance, instead of looking at accolades or accomplishments, we are going to look at purely how great they have been in their time in the NBA through the lens of an advanced metric, crafted plus minus. Now, this metric is an aggregate of 10 other advanced metrics. It's essentially an all-in-one of all the all-in-ones. It's just what we're looking for. And Steph's career crafted plus minus is 6.45, the 8th highest in NBA history. The closest player to Steph within our player pool in terms of dominance is Chris Paul, with a career crafted plus minus of 6.59 and a similarity score of 98%, followed by James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Luka Doncic. And with that, we have now assessed all 55 players across all 10 categories. A process of research and number crunching that took me far longer than I'm willing to admit. But it was all worth it, because in a league where Steph remains a unicorn, I think with very high accuracy, I have narrowed the search for the most Steph-like player down to one. After scanning a field of 75 potential matches across 10 different categories and dozens of metrics, the most similar player to Steph Curry in the NBA today is Damian Lillard, which, as a Blazers fan that watched this man for over a decade, completely adds up.
Co-pilot, let's make a meal plan for my 9-year-old. No peanuts, green thing.
In the end, Dame finished with an average similarity score of 82.71% across all 10 categories, finishing just ahead of James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant. All names that make sense, but for completely different reasons. Although there is truly no one like Steph in the NBA, both past and present, Damian Lillard is about as close as you're gonna get on the stat sheet, the eye test, and in skill set.
All right, man. That's enough of that video, man. I really just wanted to hear who was supposedly the closest player to Steph Curry, and I should have known this already. Damian Lillard is the nigga's cold, bro. The nigga cold, and he shoot crazy shots like Curry. Yeah, bro, crafty guard, bro. He nice, bro. But yeah, that's it for the video, man. Make sure y'all like, share, subscribe, man. All the links and stuff be down below in the description. Make sure y'all check it out, man. And we out of here, man. Peace.